Tomorrow is the spookiest day of the year, Halloween. So of course, everyone is jumping onto a horror, spooky, or scary content. And I am not above both chilling for the holiday season and for webtoons. Actually, my Halloween costume is going to be Ichabod from Third Shift Society, which is not only a great webtoon, but also a webtoon nominated for an Eisner Award. Did you know that? That's super cool. Like, I love when webtoons get recognition outside of, like, the webtoon community. Going off on a little tangent here, I think webtoons is a very closed community, I guess. There's usually some bleed through from, like, culture to culture, like video games. You might know Mario and Pac-Man if you're not really into video games. Or superheroes, you'll know Spider-Man and Superman. But with webtoons, you either know a lot about it or you don't. So when I hear webtoons get an anime, a K-drama, or get nominated for an Eisner Award, even if I don't know or read these webtoons, I'm still super excited for those webtoons. Where was I? Oh, right, yeah, spooky! Spooky! There are a lot of thriller and horror webtoons that are super cool. And last week I asked you guys which webtoon I should cover, and I got a lot for Sweet Home. But you see, well, the problem with that is, A, I haven't read a single chapter, B, there are 140 chapters, and C, is completed, and therefore needs daily passes to use. And I'm not allowed to use any chapter that requires a daily pass in this video. So, let's talk about the second scariest thing out there. Love! My Deepest Secrets is a thriller webtoon that takes the concept of yandere and runs with it. We follow our main character, Emma Wilson, a college student working part-time at a cafe with her boyfriend, Elios. I am terrible with names. Elios. The seemingly perfect boyfriend. Handsome, kind, generous, straightforward, and easy to read. He's also shows enough jealousy that he won't cheat on you. Emma falls head over heels for Elios over here, and who could blame her? Eventually, asking him out, and he agrees to it. And everything is seemingly going smoothly. But it wouldn't be a thriller if everything went smoothly all the time. And it quickly shows why. I mentioned the term yandere, which is a very anime term. And for those unaware, the yandere trope is someone who loves someone else so much and deeply that they're willing to kill or seriously injure anyone who stands in the way of loving that person. And it shows, as our seemingly perfect boyfriend might love a bit too much. We see at the end of the very first chapter, Elios kill a cat, which, how dare he? I love cats. And in the very next chapter, we see a senior at Emma's school try very hard to flirt with Emma, and gets his fragile masculinity broken, and tries to force himself on her. Then he proceeds to get absolutely wrecked by Elios in disguise. The point is that he's willing to do a lot for Emma, and he's completely honest about it. Directly telling her, well, I love you so much that I'm willing to kill anyone who dares hurt you. While this comes off a bit too strong, Emma just takes it as hyperbole. But as we soon see, it's more literal than she first thought. Now, if you think this video is just about my beliefs and fears of love, well, you wouldn't be wrong, but I think My Deepest Secret is pushing something similar and interesting. And I think love is interesting, because love itself is dangerous, it's frightening, it's, well, scary. So let's ask one of the scariest questions known to man. What is love? Only I would take the day known for horror, gore, and such to talk about love. Anywho, My Deepest Secret takes an interesting approach to love that I feel like isn't utilized at all anywhere. And I'm not talking about the violent tendencies of Elios. You see, in basically every form of media, even including webtoons, we take a very black and white approach to love. And I'm not talking about the relationships themselves. I think webtoon does a good job of fleshing out relationships, showing why they work and such. No, I'm talking about the concepts of good and bad relationships. Good and bad relationships are often strangely black and white. The distinction between good and bad relationships can be summed up as a loving relationship versus an unloving relationship. A prime example is Lore Olympus and the relationships of Persephone and Minthi respectively. The god of the dead, Hades, has been in a pretty bad relationship. For example, his relationship with Minthi, someone who is rude, unappreciating, overly jealous, physically, verbally, and mentally abusive, but most of all doesn't show any love. And when she does, it's often to manipulate him. Don't get me wrong, it's likely that she does care for Hades, but she does not show any outward love towards Hades. The whole treat 'em mean, keep 'em keen deal. But often that ideology doesn't work, as we get to see a stark contrast to Minthi, Persephone, someone who outwardly shows affection and love all the time, constantly doing little things that make his day and focusing on feelings before anything else. Don't get me wrong, there are big reasons why these relationships are good and bad. But often, one of the bigger reasons why a relationship is deemed bad is because there's no love in it. There's no heart in that relationship. Which brings us back to the question of February, but I'm asking it now because of my fears. What is love? Too often we push love as purely emotional, purely as an extreme positive affection. That with love, any relationship can be perfect and amazing and wonderful. And yeah, you're gonna deal with yada 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 love. However, that's kind of the issue. Sometimes love itself can be the issue. Sometimes love itself can be bad, can be dangerous, frightening, and, well, scary. Now, you might think that bad love isn't love, that corrupted love doesn't count as love, or shouldn't. Well, a rotten apple is still an apple. A broken screen is still a screen. The point is that these things still count towards something. Now you might protest that, sure, you could eat a rotten apple or use a broken screen, but no one would, right? I don't think so. There are a couple reasons why you would use a broken screen, but to eat a rotten apple, you would only do that if you were desperate or starved. Which is my point exactly. You would only take these things if you were starved of it. Now, how does this apply to Emma, Ilios, and most importantly, the reason for this video? Emma fell head over heels for Ilios. Her first love was a typical love. However, there are a lot of little red flags that she ignores. I already mentioned that weird "I'll kill for you" moments, but also requesting that she only depend on him, and his overall being shady. But she's aware of that shadiness. She fully says, he even told me the truth before, but I didn't take him seriously. Now, some of you might think, well, who would take him seriously? He said he'd kill for her. Well, Emma, I think, as she always kind of knew something was up, but she wanted to hope that it wasn't true. Ilios was her perfect boyfriend. I already mentioned why he was seemingly perfect, but the most important reason was love. Ilios deeply loves Emma, like a lot. No matter what Emma did, Ilios would still love her. There's an element of unconditional love there, and Emma needed that. Emma was starved of love for most of her life. Sure, we can talk about recent events, like how a guy assaulted her because he was shot down, how a professor tried to trade sexual favors for a scholarship and grades, or how someone who Emma thought was her friend accidentally pushed her into the river and betrayed her trust and friendship because she was pretty. But more importantly, it's important to look at someone's past to see who they become in the future. We get to see a lot of people's backstories. However, Emma has what some call backstory blockage. I call it that. When a character's backstory is typically hidden away until a pivotal moment. We often get to see glimpses of their backstory. And it's the same with Emma. A bad dream there, a flashback here, but more importantly, we hear her explain, you know, I don't have much memories of my childhood. People tend to suppress memories that they don't want to remember, right? I think it's like that for me. Well, as you know, I was abused by my father. I don't exactly remember what he did to me, but I do remember hating his actions. Emma was starved of love as a child. She likely never felt real love from her father. So when she finally felt love, actual adoration from someone like Ilios, someone she thought was perfect and amazing, she was so willing to accept it that she might overlook some things. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Ilios, someone else who's been starved of love. However, it's more negligent than outright abusive, as his mom seemingly cared more about her work than him, although we don't have enough information to say that definitively. People who used to be his friend just kept him around because he was popular with the ladies, and he was constantly being punished for what he deemed acceptable, and never got the chance to emotionally express himself except to emotionally support others. Therefore, he never really got the chance to have feelings. And when someone finally shows him love, he made sure that no one else would get in the way of that person showing him love. He wanted to make sure he was first for her. They were both desperate for any form of love. They fell into a relationship that wasn't good for them, one that rewarded toxic love. Which brings us back to Halloween, the spookiest season, where frights are commonplace, where fears are standard, and where someone talking about love is... well, it doesn't make sense. However, I think it does. I jokingly mentioned that I was afraid of love, and it's more I'm afraid of ending up in relationships like this. Not so much with murderers, because I don't think that's gonna happen. More a relationship that isn't based on a pure love, a good love. A relationship that rewards toxic love. I'm afraid of caring and trusting someone to only have that relationship being dangerous or terrifying to my physical health or to my mental health. I think that what's scary in this world isn't zombies or gore, it isn't monsters or mass murderers. I think it's the relationships we get into. It's the love we crave, and most importantly, it's the trust that gets broken. Because while zombies and monsters don't exist, and you're likely not to get murdered by a serial killer, there's a good chance you'll end up in a relationship that hurts you. There's a good chance you'll end up in a relationship that's dangerous, that's frightening, that's, well, scary. But that's just me. What are you terrified of? What sends chills down your spine or makes you freeze up? Leave it in the comments below. And I hope you all have a good quarantine Halloween tomorrow. But like always, thank you for watching.